You're watching PowerNation.
Today on Carcass, our Datsun 280Z Heritage project is coming to an end. We'll install a new clutch and the CD009 6-speed transmission.
We fabricate a custom exhaust, plus we finish up under the hood with a modern fuel injection system that will keep our Z running smooth. Then we head out to the track to see how our Datsun stands up with the new Z and have a little fun with some good friends. Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. The car you see before you is the 280Z that Jimmy and I have been working on for quite a while. Now when we chose to build this car, we wanted to do more of a JDM feel, so we've done a couple modifications. We went ahead and cut the fenders and the quarters, we added the fender flares, and then we moved the mirrors up here on the fender to give it more of that fair lady feel. Now to pay homage to the new Z, we decided to paint this car kind of a bold color. This is bolder gray. Now it's not a new color to Nissan, but it is a color that you can find on the new Z. And we think it just matches our car and fits it perfectly.
And obviously this car is really far along into the assembly process. A couple of small details we want to share about that. You know, we went through all the hardware and found a bunch of nice stainless stuff. And also, as we were putting the car together, you find a bunch of small parts and pieces, you pull them from the table, you start putting them on, and you realize how dirty everything is relative to just the nice, clean nature of the car as it is now. So we went ahead and cleaned everything up, painted it, just to give everything a nice, cohesive look.
And to stay with that cohesive look, we did paint the fender flares to match the mirrors. It's more of a flat black. And probably one thing you guys have noticed already is the fact that we went ahead and installed some yellow headlights. Now we feel this gives our car a more aggressive look, and they were pretty simple to install. These are just a standard LED headlight. They're 7 inches. We got them from Holley, and they fit directly into our headlight socket. So.
And now going forward, some things that we have to do to finish up the car. We have to get the transmission in it, the full clutch set up. We have to fabricate an entire exhaust system. And also the last thing to kind of wrap it up is we have a new fuel injection setup to go on this engine just to make it a really nice driving car and just, you know, finish it in a good way.
Yep, well then let's just get cracking. We'll finish this thing up.
All right, to start us off here, we have the rest of our Jim Wolf Technologies kit, which includes a flywheel and some other stuff you're about to see. We already have the pilot bushing installed, so just get these bolts torqued down and keep going. Finish torquing these to 100 pound-feet. Make sure you don't forget your thread locker.
Got it?
Yeah.
I'll just start a couple of these for now, and then we can go ahead and throw some thread locker on it. So it stays in place, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of hard to see over here, though. One transmission, Jimmy.
Last time.
Yeah, last time, right? All right, let's get a couple bolts started here. We'll tighten everybody down, move on to the cross member. And again, don't forget to torque everything down.
Now that we have the transmission in, we're going to mock up the cross member so Jeremy can take a measurement for the drive shaft.
So the last thing we need to do to tie our engine and transmission to our differential is we need to measure for a drive shaft. Now some drive shaft shops will have you take specific measurements, but in our case, we need to measure from the back of the output shaft on the transmission to the front of the flange on the differential. And this one's about 34.5 inches. Now, most of the time you need to have the suspension compressed, or at least the weight of the car on the suspension to make this measurement. But we have an independent rear suspension, so our differential won't move no matter what. So we'll go ahead and call in this 34.5. We'll get a drive shaft made.
Coming up, we install new headers and build a custom exhaust for our Z.
Okay, so while we're waiting on our drive shaft to be made, we're going to tackle one more thing underneath the car, and that's the exhaust system. Now, we do have a header that fits the 2.8, and this did come as a kit, but there is no off-the-shelf kit to fit the 2.8 and the CD 009 transmission that we're running, so we're only going to be using the header for this. I'm going to go ahead and get this up inside here, get it bolted down, and then we'll start making our way out the back. Okay, so the other piece to this header kit is this kind of Y pipe right here. And as you guys can see, it really doesn't fit. Now, if you were building a four-wheel drive Datsun, or if you really wanted a cool transmission skid plate, this would work out great. But in our case, it's just not gonna work. But we are gonna use a piece from this. We're actually gonna come up here and cut the tube off, and we're gonna use the Y. So over to the chop saw we go. All right, so after we cut this piece, I went ahead and cleaned it up on our belt sander just so we can get ready to start welding here. Now, what we're gonna end up doing is using a piece of 2 1/4. This is out of a builder's kit that we got from Summit Racing. We're gonna start just heading our way out the back, so I'll get this kind of set there. We'll fire up the welder and get it tacked in. Got her, Jimmy? Now, since this is going to be a street-driven car, we're going to go ahead and put in a catalytic converter. This is a high-flow cat. We got it from Summit Racing, and it really shouldn't rob us of any power. So we'll get this tacked in here. We'll keep moving backwards. All right, so to keep moving back here, we're gonna add this stainless steel butt joint clamp, and we're gonna add this 90 so we can start traveling up to our muffler. This will allow us to get the exhaust out from underneath the car, and it'll also allow me to kind of turn this to get the perfect angle on it. We'll try that, Jimmy. You can tighten that one down. Now, when it comes time to choosing the exhaust or the sound you guys want out of your car, Summit Racing has got you guys handled, and there's a couple different options you can go with. This is what is considered to be more of a glass pack. This is a free-flowing design, and it's gonna give you that distinctive tone that you guys remember from the 60s and the 70s. Now, this is what is considered to be more of a muffler. This is made out of 409 stainless steel. It comes in a bunch of different options as far as inlet and outlet size, plus the orientation of those, so you guys can choose and pick whatever you need for your project. Plus, this is completely reversible, so it doesn't matter which way you install it. Inside of here is a perforated tube that's kind of wrapped in a fiberglass mesh, so this one will be a little bit quieter than the glass pack. You guys also saw us use these underneath the car. This is a butt connector or kind of a band clamp. What this allows you to do is take 2 pieces of the same size tubing, butt them together so you don't have to weld it. That way you can take your exhaust out of the car if you ever need to service something. Now, you guys can go to Summit Racing and pick all of this stuff up. That way you can figure out what you want, what you need, and what you like to hear from underneath your car. We think we're gonna like the glass pack, so this is what we're going with. All right, well, that takes care of the mock-up stage of our exhaust. From here, we have to add a couple of hangers, take everything down, weld it up, and that'll pretty much button up everything underneath the car. we install a modern EFI system, plus protect our Datsun's paint with a little TLC.
We're moving right along back up to the top of the car, and we're going to start installing our new fuel injection system. We're going to start with the intake manifold. Something that we're doing with this, along with the rest of the engine, is installing ARP hardware, just because the stock stuff over time has gotten really beat up and it doesn't look too great. So the ARP hardware is going to give some nice corrosion protection, and in general it's just going to last a long time.
Now, to go along with the upgraded intake that Jimmy just installed, we're also going to be upgrading our fuel injection. Now, the 280Z originally was fuel injected, but the old harness has seen better days, and the connectors for the injectors are very brittle and makes the car very unreliable. But on the flip side of that, we have a brand new fuel injection setup. Not only will this make our car even more reliable, it's also going to clean up the underside of the hood here. So we'll just get this stuff plugged in and keep moving forward here. Now, we got our fuel injection setup from the guys over at Z-Car Depot. Now, this is a fast fuel injection setup, and it's made for an 8-cylinder. But what the guys do is they set this up as a batch fire, and what that means is every injector is going to fire every time. So it doesn't matter which way you guys hook these up, as long as you hook up 6 of them. Speaking of that, you are going to have 2 extra connectors. Don't worry about this. You can either cut them or put them back in the harness. Just get them out of the way. What we'll do is come back and clean this up a little bit later, but for now, we're just going to connect 6 of these. Okay, so another thing that the Z-Car Depot guys do is they send you some adapters to adapt some brackets on the side of the throttle body. Here we have an adapter that runs a different throttle position sensor than stock that just allows you to plug the harness directly into this throttle position sensor. So now with any EFI setup, the ECU is going to have to see some sort of RPM signal. So Fast sends this little RPM module. This connects directly to our stock distributor. That way we don't have to run some fancy distributor. And what that does is it's going to send this RPM signal to the ECU so the fuel injection runs correctly. It installs very simple. You just run the white wire to the negative side of our coil, put the yellow wire right to the harness, and the black one just goes to ground. Okay, so another thing that we do have to do is make sure that when we connect the ECU power and ground, it goes directly to the battery. What that's going to do is give our ECU a very clean signal, so it's not dirty or noisy as they call it, and that can make our computer do some kind of wonky things. Now to do that, we're going to be connecting it over here to an Optima YellowTop battery. This will give us a bunch of cold cranking amps when we go to start it for the first time, plus it'll give us a bunch of reliable starts when we go take this thing for a rip.
One thing we want to do before we finally take our car out is get the exterior looking really nice. So we have Rob and Cole from Sonax to help us out. And ultimately we want to get their ceramic spray coating on the car, but we have a few steps to do before that, including a little bit of wet sanding, cutting and polishing. So we'll let these guys work their magic and make this thing really shine.
All right, guys, well, Rob and Cole did a great job really slicking this car out. They gave the color a bunch of depth, and the clear is super smooth, and now it's time to give it a little bit of protection.
Yep, we are going to actually put on the new ceramic spray coating. Simply spray it on, wipe it, flip your towel over, remove it, and it'll give you up to 6 months durability.
Perfect. And it's super easy to put on, right?
It couldn't be any easier. Literally, you just spray it on your towel, wipe it on the paint, flip your towel over, and wipe it off.
Yeah.
It'll leave the paint just really slick.
Yeah, you can feel it actually as you're applying it, and as you're wiping it back off, like the car just slicks right back out.
The hydrophobic capabilities of this is amazing too. I'm always amazed at when you're praying for rain just so you can see how your protection is working.
All right, guys, well, the car is super straight and slick, and we've got some good protection on it. So Jimmy and I have a couple more things to do. Obviously, we got to put the hood and the grille and the bumper on the front, but then we can take it out for a rip and have some fun with it, huh?
Yeah, it'll be super fun. There's no better way to show off our finished Datsun than with some friends at the track. When we started this project, our whole plan was to honor the history of Datsun and the Z platform. We wanted to keep the proud heritage of Nissan's pursuit for performance combined with a sleek and sporty look. We believe our 280Z keeps with these core visions with a slight nod to subsequent generations of the Z family, taking the best of the old, accentuated with the new, and adding a dash of ultimate Nissan performance to create what we feel is the perfect culmination of the Z car dynasty.
So we headed out to the Nashville Super Speedway to meet up with our good friends from Nissan and see what they thought.
Here we go.
Oh, look at those fender mirrors.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Big flares.
Big wide tires.
Yellow headlights, nice.
That thing is aggressive.
Look at those tires on that thing. Wow. That is insane.
That looks great.
That's
Right.
beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
We got sick.
What a build.
Fantastic.
Look at that. Wow.
That thing looks great.
Wow.
That's been a
Take a
long time
peek.
coming,
Look at
but
this
You
color.
guys nailed it.
Nailed it.
it's great to actually see the two of them side by side finally.
Yeah, the colors
no
are
kidding.
just spot on. These bumpers, fender mirrors, flares, all look fantastic.
The yellow headlights, nice touch.
That was Jimmy. I can't.
Yeah, and
the
it-
only person that can take credit for that one.
well,
was
it
me.
great.
works. It works really well with the color too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Man, these brakes.
just
And the
great.
red
and ties in a
Alcabanos to
little
go
bit
along
with the
with it.
badge, the little
Yeah.
carbon
subtle
fiber.
color there.
Yeah. You know, we've had a lot of communications with you guys over the entire build, and it's everybody has a little piece that they kind of brought into the car, and constant phone calls, and we just want to make sure everything we did the car justice.
Yeah.
And to really bring the car to this point, I mean, right down to the color choice, or Jonathan calling you about the badges. What color badges go back on the car? Because the yellow just didn't seem right in the Z insignia, but you know, that's whatever's correct to the car. So.
It just works too.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just think it's been a great opportunity to be able to support you guys on this project, and
Yeah.
you know, so great to touch on our heritage and see it here with the new Z.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
I think the color choice was right. I've fallen in love with it more and more every day. Just more and more and more.
And the color really suits the car, and it's so cool to see them side by side, and now you can really see the influence that the designers took for the new Z out of all of the design elements from the original
Yeah.
S30 chassis.
Absolutely.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
Wow.
we really enjoyed it. It was a giant labor of love, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I had no doubt.
And we
But-
we're more muscle car guys, traditional like hot rod stuff. So this being a really high level build in the import world is a really special thing
Yeah.
for us to do too.
Well, you guys are coming around. You're coming. You're coming to the. You're coming to the light. You know.
Yeah.
Out of the muscle car darkness and into the import light.
Well, it's
Yeah,
funny
this
too
is-
because we took this car down to nothing, and you learn so much about it. And I feel like now I know about just this world and this car, and I could do it again with relative ease.
Yeah.
Versus us working on Camaros and C10 trucks. It's like
Yeah.
that's what we're used to, and that's what we like, but it's comfortable. And this is a little bit uncomfortable for us. So.
Yeah,
That's good. Always good to stretch your
right.
Yeah.
boundaries a bit, right? Learn something new.
Man, it looks
The
so
good,
good, guys.
the good
Thank
side
you.
of uncomfortable.
Yeah, this thing turned out killer, guys.
Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park, guys.
Absolutely.
You know, we're all here at the track. You guys brought a bunch of super nice cars, and the sun is shining. We could go do a couple laps. I mean, if everybody wants to jump in a car,
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Around for a while.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Let's hop in and go.
Sounds good.
See what it can do.
This will be the first time we really stretch its legs, get to use 6th gear on this one. Yeah. You know, besides for the testing and tuning that we get to do, but.
Well, the Nissan guys liked it, so I'd say that's kind of a win.
I was just gonna say, the best way to say that is it's a win in our book.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, you know, we build this car and of course we have their help with stuff and we're always asking them for advice, but
Yeah.
the ultimate kind of judgment of it, you know, rolling up on them, I'm kind of going, well, did we actually do it? Did we not? But
Did we pull it off?
yeah,
Right.
really got a good reaction, so, you know, we got to be happy about it.
Well, I'm happy with the car, period. Like, you know, we're American muscle car guys.
Yeah.
That's just how we grew up when we were younger.
Yep.
This has definitely pushed me one direction.
Yeah, and just to learn something new, you know, it's like now we've broadened our skill set, we know a little bit more, and it's just all fun.
Well, we've had a great time out here at the Nashville Super Speedway, and we want to give a giant thanks to them, plus all of the Nissan guys for bringing out their cars and for all the support for us to build our 280Z. We got a lot of daylight left, a bunch of killer cars. We're going to go enjoy the track.